Let's see if this works. Okay, I'm just trying to uncover a growth ring here. I'm not really looking to follow a single ring. I'm just getting most of this sapwood off and the remaining just junk off so I can start working on the heartwood. But this is basically, I don't know if you can, how well you can see this, but you can see as I remove this lighter colored stuff, this darker yellow comes out underneath it. And if your growth rings are wide enough, all you need to do is get you can do this with a draw knife. The growth rings on this seem to be a little narrow, so we'll see what we can do. But basically, I'm just expecting to do sort of a rough start on this. So if you want to see how I do it, I have a better video that I'll link to in the comments in the description section. You can just link to that and watch the very intricate process, but here's a general thing. Light color, dark color, right? Bug hole. These splinters are stabbing me in the side while I do it. It's so pleasant. Just know when you'll get a feel for it, but just know how it feels on your draw knife, the difference between removing the sapwood or the early growth wood with the later growth wood, depending on where you are. So there you go. What was that is now that. And we haven't violated a growth ring there, except where a couple of the bug holes are. Now you can do that with a scraper. It just takes a lot more time. Once you get the feel for it, though, you'll burn through it as fast as I did. Let's see it one more time, another angle here. I'm going to be working on that section right there. Let's see if we can get it set up here. I'll try not to knock the camera over in the process. So we're working here. Get the big stuff out of the way. And then this part, little curls. It's just little curls with the draw knife, small as you can get them. And I can feel there's more here, so little curls. And then once you get under that, you just can pull it off. What do I mean by little curls? A little curl of wood, just like that. And you take the draw knife and you just little curls, just like that. If I'm going slow, it's just like that, tiny little curls. Then you get under the curls and you pull the rest off. And if you're used to it and you know what it feels like on your draw knife, you can just be a little more aggressive. And there you go. There we were working on pretty much a single growth ring. You don't go so deep, you can finish off this little stuff with scrapers. That I can get with the draw knife, but the little tiny stuff inside these crevices here, right there, it's a bug hole, you might need a different thing, or you'll have to cut that out and get a new growth ring, depending on how bad it is. Alright, that's where I am. I'm finding that single growth ring, guys. See you in a little bit. Okay, so what I've got now is more or less a single growth ring, but it needs to be cleaned up a little more. And what I use, you see, the interesting thing about, if you remember, it's this piece of wood has a bunch of valleys in it, as opposed, normally these things have this sort of rounded rounded back to them because of the stave. The log is round, it has a rounded back, but this one has a rounded back with these valleys running through it, and it's hard to get to with the draw knife. So, and even a regular scraper or a knife is hard to use. So what I have for that are these furniture scrapers. In particular this one. This is one that is great for working around knots or in these valleys. Why? Because it's rounded. I can get in, you got a valley right here that if I tried to get at this with a draw knife, I'd break through my single growth ring on either side of it. So with this, I can come in, sorry for the chalkboard on the nails on the chalkboard sound, I can get in, and as I expose, as you see I've exposed the back ring there, I can come in with this littler part and get in and get just that valley, hopefully, without compromising the back ring. See how deep that is? I mean, if you could feel it, it's a really deep valley. It's so deep, this may not even be enough. I have to go another size down, but you can see all of this needs to come off. This and this over here is the same growth ring. It just dips down. Anyway, I got to get all this junk off. It's going to take this is where it takes a little longer, but it'll happen. Anyway, you get the idea. So I'm going to clean this all up, get it down to a single growth ring, and then I'll show you what we got. Alright, Mike from Boyer Bows. Alright, down to pretty much a single growth ring. Still could use a little cleaning up, but we got it there. Alright, so the next step is going to be mapping out the bow. Now, I violated some growth rings down at the end here, but this is going to be either a mulgabet or a home guard. I wanted a home guard, but after all was said and done, you can see I've lost a lot of width in the bow and the stave, and that may change my plans a little bit. But you know, the idea that originally I was going to get 2 staves out of this, no. Just the way this wood was, you know, had some checks and cracks in it. But now I've got a beautiful, wonderful stave, and there's those, it's twisted there. It's because of the way that you can see it. What was a perfectly straight stave, you can see now, is a pretty twisted one. No problem, we can fix that. And it's really only to about here. As you can see, after where my thumb is, it's pretty straight. Even, oh, let me do that again. Right where my thumb is, from there on, it's really pretty straight, no twist. But then you come back, and bang, it gets really twisted. So we only have a little bit to twist back, so you just put this part here where it stops twisting, or starts twisting in a vise, and I'll show you how to untwist that. Otherwise, what we're going to do next is actually lay out the dimensions of the bow and see what we're going to actually do and what will bend and what won't bend and all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned, guys. The next video is probably going to be me showing you how I laid the bow out, or I will have laid the bow out and I'll show you when I did, one of the two. Alright, Mike from Boyer Bows, take care. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is plan out what the bow is going to look like. Now here's what I did. I did it ahead of time to expedite the video a little bit, but basically this stick right now is 66 inches long. Okay? My handle is going to be 5 inches long with 2-inch fades on either side of the handle. Obviously 66 inches long, 33 is the middle, 2.5 inches on either side to give us a total of 5 inches. And then I took 2 inches off each side of that for the handle fades to give us a total of 9 inches. Okay, that leaves us 28.5 inches to work with in the limb. The working limb in this case is 14.5 inches, and then the static portion is going to be a 2-inch fade, which doesn't bend, and a 12-inch static limb that I'm going to probably put a recurve or at least a big reflex in. When you have a home guard or a mulgabet, half the limb bends, half the limb is static. That's how it was designed. When in doubt, that 1/2 inch goes on the working limb, at least in my opinion. unless you want to break it into 1/4 inches. I don't. I like a little extra working length. So that's how we did that. And the other side is the same, 14.5, 2, and 12. Okay, so that for 28.5 divided by 2 with a 1/2 inch. Okay, my handle. This is going to be 5/8. I'm sorry, that's not right. 10/8. Okay, so 1 inch and 1/4. Basically. Okay, fading out. Now, I had a lot more wood on this side than I did over here, but I want these to be the same size. So, whatever the shorter width here was, is what I did out here. And I will draw lines that fade into this side, okay? Alright, now, I don't know what this length is yet, okay? They're different on both sides. They will be equal when I'm done. But I found the middle of where the fade will end, or we'll call it the non-working fade, and I'm going to start with 1 inch here. Taper down to whatever this is. I'm tapering down to 1 inch. And I took that out the entire length. Now I may taper this as well, but for now it's 1 inch. And we did that on both sides as well. Okay? So, my next step is to cut that out. And then I will see you again, and we'll decide what we're going to do. Alright, Mike from Boyer Bows. Hope you're enjoying the build so far.